What's crackalackin', homies of the interwebs? This is lugnuts.guapo coming at you from Longhorn Harley-Davidson, and this is a 2018 Lowrider, completely bone stock, and I'm gonna take it on the highway. Yes, I am so excited. I'll be completely honest with you guys. The first time I rode one of these was in the back parking lot at Maverick Harley-Davidson. Not a fan, and I think it's because of those buckhorn bars. Yep. Yeah, I know. That's kind of lame to just be the deal breaker, but those bars change how this bike feels. And if you follow Maverick's channel, which you should, go ahead over there and subscribe. We did a Lowrider build with a FXRP fairing, and it looked nice. The other thing that we did different on that is that we did T-bars on it, and that changed this bike completely, and it's actually one of my favorites now. Yeah, I know. 2018 and 2019, and if I had the dough, I think this would be up there in my top 5 for sure. Love the big rear tire, the way that it handles. It's a good bike. So anywho, roll the tape. Alright, let's make sure that all my pockets are clear. Should probably close up this button. It's actually kind of chilly outside, and I should have done this when I had my gloves off. There we go. Alright. Alright, we're ready to roll. Hopefully that GoPro doesn't go to crap, because on the highway, especially on I-20, it'll be hard to recover. Alright. It's actually not a lot of traffic today out here in Grand Prairie. Looking good. Alrighty. So, this one actually is a used model. Yeah, I know. Someone put about 430 miles. I know. 430 miles and got traded in. Most likely someone wanted it in a raffle and then traded it in, which is, believe it or not, I've seen it at least 3 times in the last few months. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was one of those. And a lot of times people will buy a Softail and then be like, you know what, I should have gone with a big touring bike. That also happens more often than you think. But, oh man, it is pretty chilly. So if I put holes through this jacket, I'm sorry. It's probably something you do not want to see. Anywho, alright, so again, first impressions when I first just rode one of these, when they first came out, was not impressed. I did not like these bars. I still don't like these bars. Everything that I've ridden with buckhorn bars, not a fan of. They're just wide, they're awkward, and I don't know, just for this bike, I don't feel like they should be this wide. If you go back to like the older Lowriders, and when I say older, I mean the Dyna Lowrider, the bars, especially the last models that came out before they changed into a Softail, the bars were, I mean, they weren't like this. They were more straightforward, almost like a drag bar kind of, a little bit of a flare on the sides. But this thing, they went old school buckhorn, which your wrists are like, you know, your fists are pointing outwards like 45 degrees each way. That Milwaukee Ape, man. A bike that's this light, it's an amazing combination. But I don't need to tell you that or remind you that, because I say it every single time. and you're probably getting tired of it. Now, I will tell you this, if I were to buy a lowrider, 2018, 2019 lowrider, I would put those SNS 120 120 bolt-on kit. Wow, can you imagine riding this as a 120, especially with the power band that the Milwaukee A puts out? Woo-wee! It'd be a beast. Now, one thing that I like about the lowrider is the big tank, because a lot of the new Softails have a smaller tank, which I don't understand. They kind of look cool on some bikes like Street Bob or whatever, but this is what I like. I love the big old school massive dials right here, vertically, one on top of each other. It's just lovely, very lovely. I will say the seat right now, it's a stock seat. I'm okay with it. It's comfortable, but I feel like I'd want to be a little bit further back, but I'm about like 6 foot. Not that I'm uncomfortable. Again, I mean, even my feet are like maybe half an inch forward from my knee, you know, it's not sitting right exactly below my knee, which I love that, but I would like to sit a little bit lower into the bike. That's just a personal preference. So maybe a Saddleman step-up seat, something like that would be pretty cool on something like this, which most people that have Softails that do like stunts and all that kind of jazz, something that you see on Instagram, they all have that Saddleman seat, or, you know, Lucky Days or whatever, you know, whatever step-up seat they chose, and it looks great, and I'm pretty sure it feels great too. I'm pretty sure, I know this thing has like a weird curve where your butt goes, and it just, I don't know, it doesn't feel like you can like fully like feel like the support on the lower back. Just kind of creates that gap, so you don't feel like you can kind of like lean into it. And something I can compare to other than a Saddleman seat, like step-up seat, is probably like on a like the 17 Heritages and older. They had that big pillion on the back for the passenger. You could just like lean against that. It was like, you know, like a chair. You have a lot of lower back support. There's a lot of seats that are stock that Harley has, or that produced, like the one of the old Fat Bobs. And I mean old, like the last Dynas that came out. Those seats are awesome. I have one on my personal bike on my Super Glide, because it just gives you that lower back support and it just feels great. This one, that little curve is a little awkward, so that creates just, you know, a little gap between your lower back and the seat, and I wish that it wasn't so. But other than that, I mean, the stock seat is totally okay. Again, it's comfortable. I definitely love what they've done with it, but personal preference, I do like that lower back support that I don't feel like I necessarily get on this particular seat. So obviously mid controllers, which is absolutely awesome, and again, the way that my feet are positioned, they're comfortable. I do wish, again, that I was sitting a little bit further back and a little bit into the bike. That's just the way that I like to ride. So anywho, I'm about to get on the highway here shortly. If you want to test this ride bike, go ahead and call us at 972-988-1903. Schedule a test ride, make it yours, and get some wind therapy. Alrighty, I'm really curious, because the only time I've ever ridden this bike, or not particularly but this bike, but the lowrider that we built with the T-bars, was on highway, and it felt great. But again, I had a fairing and I had T-bars. I didn't have these buckhorns. The one thing that I'm curious about is that I've ridden other bikes like a Sportster, you know, old Sportsters with these buckhorn bars, and it's been uncomfortable because you have all that wind hitting your chest, and you're holding on with your with your arms, and your wrists start feeling a little sore, start hurting a little bit. And yeah, definitely not in the long run, especially if you're trying to travel with it, not something that you would enjoy, I can tell you that much. All right, 3,000, 3,500 RPM, that's a good point to shift right there. Oh, makes me smile every time, every single time. Oh, what a joy it is to ride this thing. Now, the first thing that I was just, literally what I was just saying was my concern about how these buckhorns will feel on my wrist, especially with that wind hitting me. No windshield, no fairing. Yeah, again, because so that's the combination that I'm talking about. The seat, the bars, that, like, and whether you have fairing or not, that's going to determine real quick how comfortable this is going to be in the long haul. If you're on highway, you know, at 80, 75, 80 miles an hour. So I can tell you already, I feel like a massive parachute, which is normal because I don't have a windshield or a fairing. But I definitely don't have that lower back support, and it doesn't feel like I could just like lean back into it. So like my lower back is like holding me up. And so I know the second that gets tiring, I'm gonna start doing this number, and my wrists are gonna start to feel it. Although I am surprised that like the way that the length between my shoulder and the grips is actually not bad at all, because again, if I like pull back, my arm, I still like don't feel like my whole body's, my whole weight, the weight of my body is not pulling on the bars. So I don't think that I would feel that discomfort on, you know, on my wrist. So again, that's probably just because of my body type. If you have shorter arms, you'll definitely feel it. I'm telling you, you will feel that on your wrist. Man, the way that this new frame handles, I mean, it's no surprise. I've been out for about a year now, so you've heard about it. I don't need to really go into it that much, other than it handles great, and this motor has torque for days. And the power band is just smooth all the way through. It just pulls you through. It's pretty incredible. Now the wheels and tires that were picked for this particular model, big fan, especially in Dallas because of all the potholes. Oh, man, that's just so smooth. So smooth. Man, I really hope it doesn't rain. It's been raining on and off, and it's not fun. But anywho, I digress. This motorcycle is pretty cool. Again, the things that I would personally change, there definitely have to be the bars. I just can't, this position, it can't be comfortable in the long run. Again, and when I say long run, I'm referring to being on the highway, like a road trip or whatever. It should have, in my opinion, like the bars that the Sport Glide has stock. I think those would have been great on this bike. Oh man, you can just, in and out of traffic, this thing is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely awesome. Just because of the amount of power that you have at your disposal, this is just fantastic. So I'm in 6th gear right now, pulling about 2,500 RPM, which is kind of low. And a lot of people think that that's when you should shift on a Harley. I don't believe that crap. Those people do not know what they're talking about. 35, 4,000 RPM, that's probably a good place where the motor is not being wound out. And I mean, you're not gonna break it. Listen, this thing is gonna bounce off the rev limiter at 55. You can bounce it off that rev limiter all day long after you've broken the motor in properly. But again, 6th gear. I'm about to do I'm doing 80, about a little under 3,000 RPM. You can travel on this thing all day long. The suspension is really comfortable, and that's just stock suspension. Again, the only thing that you have to be concerned about when you get one of these is make sure that it ergonomically fits you well. I think the only thing that I would change on this bike would be the seat for sure, and most definitely the bars. But again, I explained to you that's how my body, the way that my body fits in this bike, that would be what needs to happen. And I know the T-bars would work for me because of that one that we did at Maverick. We put T-bars, and it changed my perspective on this bike all the way around. So, and that was with the stock seat. I would like that step-up seat on it. I think that would make all the difference for me. Now, let's see if I can lean it hard. I'm dragging peg right there, and man, it's this bike is, it's like it doesn't even try, man. It's, you know how you can tell when you're like pushing the limits on a motorcycle? On a lot of bikes around corners like really hard, you can just feel a little bit of a wobble, you know. It's even on the old Dyna frame, as much as I hate to admit it, because I really like Dynas. When I go around the corner real quick, hey, what's up, man? Got on a Yamaha. Woohoo! Alrighty. Power! Definitely felt that rear tire screech when I did that, and the front tire slightly came off the ground. That's without really trying. There's so much power in this motor. Anywho, if you don't already, go on Instagram and follow us at Longhorn_HD. Also check us out on Facebook if that's your social media of preference. And look up Longhorn Harley-Davidson, follow us. Get all your updates of our events, all that jazz on there, as well as Instagram. And as well as check us out on YouTube, which you are because you're watching this video. So click that subscribe button and comment, like, all that jazz. It helps a lot, and I do sincerely appreciate it. And also check us out on iTunes. That's MLHD, that is Maverick Longhorn Harley Davidson podcast. Yeah, MLHD, search it, subscribe, listen to our podcast. I just talked to everybody that works here, and it's a good old time. So good way to eat up your commute to work and back. So also check us out on SoundCloud if you don't enjoy using the podcast app on iTunes. Just go ahead and look it up on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/ML-HD. So in the meantime, get on your Harley and get some wind therapy. Later. Oh, it's already neutral. What am I doing?